Good morning and welcome back to Miniature Monday here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we're going to be continuing our look at the models for Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone from our Talsorian Games and Monster Fight Club. Now, in this particular case, we're going to look at the Zoners Starter Gang. This is one of the original sets that was released during the Kickstarter, and this includes 6 models and all of the cards and things that you need to play this gang right out of the box. But before we get into that, I do want you to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week. We do a few live streams covering all sorts of things in the tabletop hobby, whether it's board games, miniatures, role-playing, or anything in between. And I'd love for you to come along and see what we have to share. In addition, there are affiliate links down below to Drive-Thru RPG, to Amazon, and if you would like to help out the channel that way, we'd be more than grateful. So, with all of that said, let's go ahead and start checking out the models. All right, now first up we have the leader for the Zoners, the Street King. Now, there are a couple of different options for heads. So in this particular case, the card actually shows kind of like a tactical hood. In this one, he's got a ball cap and more like a hoodie going on. All in all, he's got some good details. The arm positioning, I think, is a little bit strange. You did have to assemble both of the arms on this one. The mold lines aren't horrible, but they are a little bit noticeable on the legs and the arms. I do think they also hid them fairly well with some of the seams that you see on the jacket. Another complaint I have here is the hands and the pistols seem a little bit out of proportion. That is something that I have noticed with a lot of the Cyberpunk Combat Zone miniatures, is the proportions aren't always right. Maybe the head's a little small or the arm's a little big. At a very small scale, it's noticeable, but it is also something that I'm usually willing to overlook. The posing is just fine. He fits just fine on a 25mm base. Keep in mind the actual bases that are included in the set are about 27mm, but I used 3D printed bases that I made here at home, and just because I wanted a little bit different texture to them, and so there is a little bit of difference there. So overall, it's a good model. Very much looks like a street ganger that you would see out of Cyberpunk Red. And so yeah, good start with the Street King. Next up, we've got Alpha. Now, this is the Zoner Specialist, and I'll be honest, I still don't understand exactly what that means in the rules, but overall, it's a decent model. The mold lines are pretty prevalent here. You can see them fairly easily in the head and going down the sides of the model. Overall, I like the look. Again, this case, she's got the tactical hood on. Things seem a little bit more in proportion and the way they should be looking. So it's a decent model. I think she'll paint up fairly easily. A lot of the color schemes that they show for this one are a lot of blacks and browns, so very muted colors. But still, there's some good detail in the model, especially as you can see here on the back of the jacket. I do like how a lot of these models, they have sculpted in these little details. So gang symbols, things like that you can actually paint up. So that they, instead of having to freehand a lot of them, which for me, since I don't feel like I'm very good at freehand, I think that's an added bonus. Overall, relatively simple model, looks good though, and is going to be nice and easy to paint up. All right, next up we have Blaze. Now, this guy, he's clearly got the Molotov cocktail. He's got some grenades and whatnot. He has a special ability on his card called Instigator, which I think is highly appropriate for this particular model, considering the Molotov cocktail. Overall, it's a good sculpt. Another use of the tactical hood. So clearly these guys, even though they are, gang members hanging out in the combat zone where there's not a lot of law enforcement anyways, they still don't like people to know who they are. Maybe they're worried mom's going to find out what they were doing. I don't know. But overall, this guy's got lots of detail. Honestly, if it wasn't for the Molotov cocktail and the tactical hood, actually even with the tactical hood, I think it could make a good law enforcement or special forces type character. Replace the Molotov cocktail with a grenade or something. It's a good model. Lots of details, a lot more even than we saw with Alpha and Street King. But it's a good model. It was essentially one piece. Just the body and needed to glue on the head, which is pretty common for most of these. Most of these are just two-piece models, so they assemble pretty well and they look pretty good. So this is Blaze. All right, next up we've got 40 Mike, a ganger with a portable grenade launcher. He's again wearing a mask, although the card does show him open-faced. Again, very much looks very tactical, like he could be used for a military unit instead of a gang unit, which is kind of interesting for these characters. I'm actually kind of considering maybe I'll do some different things with the paint jobs. Maybe they're a former military unit, something like that. That could be fun. But this is also kind of interesting. It looks like he's got a jacket tied across his waist. Again, lots of really good details in some of these later models. The Street King and Alpha were very, very plain. But for these later characters, they've gotten some really good details in them. Again, still the issues with the mold lines that you see on most of these models, but it's not too horrible for me to worry about. So this is 40 Mike. And next up we've got Operator. Now, this one definitely gets more into the gang category with the mohawk, the cybernetic eyes. He definitely looks like he's more of a street ganger as opposed to a regular military guy. I actually just noticed some flashing that I didn't see the first time, which honestly is kind of rare for the models outside of the mold lines, which again fairly prevalent, especially with the way the arm is going. You can see the mold line across the right forearm there, but overall this guy looks great. Good details, especially in the face and head. You can see that extra bit of flash that I didn't trim off, so I apologize for that. I'll have to clean that up before I paint him up. But this guy's gonna be fun. He's gonna let me, for this particular gang, do something a little bit crazier. Not entirely sure what I'll do yet, but I think he's gonna deserve some special attention. Still, good details in the jacket, hands. Everything seems much more in proportion on this guy. But yeah, so that is the Operator. All right, and finally we have Over Under Mr. Stud. Yes, that is actually the name of the character. Over Under Mr. Stud. I don't know. I don't get it. But sure. It's a decent model. This is actually the character that you will see on the cover of the box for the starter gang. I don't know where the name comes from, but overall it's pretty good. Definitely has more of a street gang look to it than some of the more paramilitary units that we've seen earlier. His rifle looks a little bit more futuristic. I like how there's the sling on it, cybernetic hands, whole 9 yards. He's got a lot of really fun details on here, and I think he's probably going to look the best painted up, I think. It's a It's a good model. Not sure why he's got the backpack. Actually, it's more like a bag just slung over his. I don't. I. They've got some interesting design choices, but I think he's, like I said, I think he'll still look look like one of the better models once he's got some paint on him. So overall, good model. A little bit more on the simple side, but still a lot of really good detail compared to some of the models in the game. And that is over under Mr. Stud. All right, now as always, to finish up, we're going to take a quick look at the cards included. So first up, we have the new scenario. This is our territory. So the zoner team seeking to prove their worth is the attacker. The other team is the defender. The win is the attacking zoners take out 2/3 of the opposing models. The game immediately ends and the attacking zoners win. If the defender takes out half the attacking zoners, the game immediately ends and the defender wins. So that is the specific mission for the zoners. Looking at the cards, let me get some focus here. So we've got Street King, who has 1 upgrade, which is going to take his yellow stat into green. Alpha, who also has 1 upgrade and gains a 3rd action. Blaze, who has 2, gains a 3rd action. 40 Mike, who is going to get some increased skills as opposed to better dice. Operator, who gains an extra dice. And over under Mr. Stud, who has 2 upgrades. 1 upgrading his dice, 1 upgrading his skills. So, pretty standard. We've got selection of objectives based on the zoners. So, take out a rival with a torrent attack, take out a rival cyber character, end the game without having any models taken out. Take out a rival character with your leader using a melee attack. Take out a rival with a gonk. Loot a body token in your opponent's deployment zone. Take out a model that has more gear equipped than the active model. Wounded leader. Discard this after you win the game. This gang's current street cred is reduced by 1. Which is weird. Are you supposed to put that on your... I don't know. I really need to get these games that I buy out to the table, but that's a separate issue. All right. Looking at the gear cards, we've got Heavy Pistol, Sledgehammer, Air Hypo, Cyber Deck, Concert T-shirt. Place 2 luck tokens on this gear when it is equipped. Makes sense. Shotgun, Kevlar armor, SMG, chainsaw, incendiary rounds, med scanner, flamethrower, single shot RPG, silencer, salvaged armor, grenades, grapple gun, salvage, sniper rifle. So fairly typical equipment. Apparently some different drugs. Drugs are bad, okay? Alright, we've got the loot deck. So we've got drugs, med pack, new kicks, protein bar, gang trophy, biotoxin, Johnny Silverhand bauble, hacker's kit, auto surgeon, dead man switch, flashbang grenade. So again, fun stuff to do with things you find out in the combat zone. And then we have our hacking programs: Treasure Seeker, Tag, Request Backup, Hidey Hole, and Alley Rat. So that is everything for the zoners. What did you think? Have you played with the zoners? What do you think of the faction? What do you think of the models? Did I get something wrong? Am I, misidentifying something in the miniatures, let me know. Put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Also, as I have said previously, if you're interested in this particular faction, there will be a link down in the description, most likely to Amazon, where you can pick it up. Alternatively, check with your local game store. If they're carrying Cyberpunk Combat Zone, then you should be able to pick up this faction. Also, there are affiliate links for more Cyberpunk products at DriveThruRPG. If you use any of these links, obviously it will help out the channel and we'll appreciate it greatly. So with all of that said, thanks so much for watching. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next time.